Play ball! Mr. Back and Roll. What?
Yes, it is time for our sports segment. And, a few weeks back we did a segment for the NOL Grand Final, and that week we were joined by TV sports producer Yioti Van Vuklis, and he did such a good job. I'm delighted to say that he's joined us again tonight. So, Jeff, it's time to reopen the Van Vuklis vault.
Hooray!
There it is. As we welcome back to Goodnight Gladesville, Mr. Yioti Van Vuklis. Hello, Yioti.
Good day, gentlemen. You must have got that big envelope full of cash that I sent through to you, Danny, to get me back on the show.
Yes.
So good to see it work.
Thank you very much for
I
that.
love being inside the Van Vuklis vault. I love what you've done with the place. You know, velvet on the walls. It's fantastic.
There's not much here. If you listen, you can hear an echo because it's pretty empty.
But it's great to have you on the show tonight. And
Well, we've got to ask the question. We're going to talk cricket, of course. So, and it is all about the Ashes starting this week. Now, the big question is England's looking pretty good, and I think it's fair to say they would have walloped Australia if it didn't rain the other week. Yioti, do we have any chance? Can we win the little urn back?
Well, gents, I'm just a mere fan, so there are plenty of wiser people to speak than me, but I'm worried.
Right.
Basically, based on the previous series where Australia were beaten fairly comfortably 3-0. They had small moments there where there seemed to be signs of positivity, but yeah, I'm a little bit worried, and I'd like to hear from people that know a hell of a lot more than me about why we can win the series, because I'm an Australian cricket fan first and foremost, and I want to see us get back on track.
All right. Well, I'm sorry. I'm just going to stop you there. Jean, our panel operator,
Yeah.
she doesn't talk, but she's gesticulating to me. There's
something's on.
Some local cricket authority on the phone, apparently. So maybe we should have a listen to that and see. Hello, is someone on the phone?
What's that?
What's that sound, Jeff?
That sounds like
going
chewing
on
gum.
there?
Someone chewing gum?
Chewing gum.
Chewing gum. That could only be one thing.
Well, a local cricket authority chewing gum. That it can only be one thing, can it? It must mean that we have on the line former Australian Test captain Mark Taylor. Hello, Mark. Are you there? Hello.
Good evening, gents. Yes, I'm
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
I'll just spit the gum out. Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Goodnight Gladesville, Mr. Mark Taylor. Hello, Mark. How are you?
I'm very well, boys. How are you?
Very
We're
well,
going well
thanks.
here.
Good, thanks, mate.
Thank you so much for joining us.
And welcome to the Van Vuklis vault.
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. Nice to be part of 2RRR. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, that's right. Yes, local Gladesville radio. Now, of course, we've just asked Yioti this question, but we'll have to ask you too, as you're in the know, of course. What are your thoughts? Can we win back the Ashes? Do we have a chance?
Oh, look, of course we have a chance. It's still all at the moment. There's 5 test matches to
That's
go.
true, yes.
There's no doubt we've got a chance. But I think Yioti is probably right. England will start favourites, and deservedly so. They've probably over the last 5 or 6 years played pretty solid test match cricket in general. So they're the ones that I suppose are tried and true. Their form has been pretty good. Ours has been patchy, particularly this year. But I do like the way that we've become a bit more of a settled side in recent times.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that will help us going into the Ashes series anyway and get us off at least on an even keel.
Mark, do you think, just if you look at it on paper, the previous series over in England, 3-0 is a bit of a hiding, and when you consider England nearly got the fifth test in the bag as well, it was a pretty convincing performance. I'd like to know, given particularly that we haven't played a test since then, what's changed to perhaps make you think we can improve our performances and put together a better result in this series coming up?
Well, as I said a moment ago, I think we're a more settled side.
Yeah.
I think we've sort of sorted out things between the issues off the field, the Clark and Watson thing are now behind the Australian side. David Warner's back in good form, and before the last Ashes series he was in South Africa, almost sentenced away for a couple of weeks for getting into a brawl. So there's none of that surrounding the Australian side going into this series. So I think they are more comfortable. Plus they're in some decent form that players are making some runs prior to the test matches. Now, that doesn't mean they're necessarily going to win the first test, but at least they're going into the first test with a bit more confidence. And if you look back at the last series, Australia into that series, not so much in disarray, but nowhere near prepared as they are today. And yet they only lost the first test by 14 runs. And I think if they'd have won that first test at Trent Bridge, you would have seen a very different Ashes series than we saw 6 months ago.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
And
Now, there are a few sort of niggling injuries plaguing the team at the moment. Have you got an update on Michael Clark's back? What's the word? What's the latest there?
Well, look, as far as I know, I think most of the players are fit and ready to go. Obviously, Watson's been the worry for Australia, and look, I think he's been past fit now to play, from my understanding is. But look, I'll be surprised if he bowls.
Yes. Yeah.
I've just listened to what he's been saying and some of the press conferences he's had since he started training again. He said he's going to be cautious. He doesn't want to rush back. All those things tell me that he probably won't bowl. I suppose unless it gets down to sort of day 4 or 5 and Australia are desperate for victory, then you might see him bowl. But I don't think you will see him bowl. I think Australia will be just happy if he can get on the park and make heaps of runs, because that's his first and foremost job.
Okay, well, we've talked a little bit about Australia. What about the old enemy, England? Who are the players to watch in the English side? They've just arrived in Brisbane today, I believe. Yeah,
look, I think the first person that Australia have got to combat will be James Anderson, or Jimmy Anderson.
Oh, yes.
He's a quality bowler. He's a much improved bowler over the last, particularly probably 4 or 5 years. So he'll be probably the mainstay of the English attack. If you look back once again on that series that has just happened in England, it was his sort of 10-wicket performance in that first Test match which got England over the line. Apart from that, he didn't have a huge impact on the rest of the series, but he got the wickets that they needed at the most important time. So if Australia can keep him reasonably quiet, and the other guy would be Alistair Cook, I think, the captain. Now, a lot of people talk about Peterson and Bell and these sort of guys, but I think Alistair Cook's a key player for Australia because he is a good player. He's
and a good leader too, I think.
A good leader, opening batsman. Yeah. If he plays well, I think the side will respond around him. His confidence will lift, and obviously Australia, it means that their second and third change bowlers will still be bowling to the opening batsman, and I think that's when they'll be in trouble.
Yeah.
If Australia can make inroads, knock over Cook, knock over Trott, and get into the likes of Bell and Peterson, where the ball's still reasonably new, I think that'll be Australia's best chance.
Mark, I'm curious. I wonder. A lot of people say Australia will be better in their own conditions on their home ground. But do you have any? Do you give any credence to perhaps thinking that England could, in fact, really enjoy our conditions? They've got all these tall timber fast bowlers, and we've got harder, faster wickets out here. And then our wickets can tend to dry up a bit towards the end of a test, which of course would suit Graham Swan. Do you think they'll revel in our conditions as much as we will?
I think you're dead right. I don't think their bowlers will mind bowling in our conditions for sure. And as you say, if they make inroads into our batting, I'm sure Graham Swan will enjoy bowling to our tail if he's got runs on the board. So yes, it can work both ways. But I think what you'll see is a very even contest in that regard. I think you will see a bit more life in the pitches here in Australia than we saw in England in the Ashes series, which, as I said, could help England as much as Australia. But I think you'll see a really good battle with both opening attacks against the opening batsmen of both sides. You'll see David Warner looking to come out and play shots against a quality opening bowling attack of Broad and Anderson, and possibly Tremlett, I'd say, will be more than likely be the third quick. So you're going to see a very good battle no matter who bats and bowls on day one.
So both sides are going to be fired up. Now, the Ashes always seems to me like a great war, albeit a friendly one, between bitter rivals. It conjures up images of World War II images for me of the Australian cricket team sitting in the dressing rooms with like a massive map of a cricket field, pushing things around with big wooden sticks like they do in the war movies. But you've actually been a part of this. So what preparations do actually go on behind the scenes before you all head out onto the field?
Well, look, I really hope that the Australian cricket team doesn't take that approach going into this series. I hope that they go into the series looking to enjoy it. I think there's been far too much chat about that sort of thing, that the game is it's a war, it's a battle for the Ashes. Yeah, sure it is. It's a lot of hype, a lot of discussion off the field about the importance of the series. But I thought 4 years ago when England came here, I think Ricky Ponting, it all got too much for him in that series, and we went into the first test saying he was going to be fitter than he ever was, and he was, and then he struggled with the bat, and the whole Australian side went down with him because I think it all got too big for them.
And too much pressure on themselves.
Yeah, I think if they relax and say to themselves, "Look, we're going to play a game of cricket. Yeah, sure, it's Australia v England. It's an Ashes Test match, but we're there to enjoy it and try and keep it as much of a game as they possibly can." I think they'll get the most out of themselves.